Hi all, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about our rotary sensor. So what we have today is a sensor which will be rotated and it will generate a kind of a pulse. Okay, so let me quickly show you what is that we have. Okay, so the rotary sensor will look something like this. Okay, so this part of the sensors, if you can see, and this is a 5-pin sensor, and what it basically has are two output. Okay, the two output pins are output A and output B. Okay, and the third pin is a button pin. Okay, and the rest of the two pins are the voltage pins, right? So basically a ground pin and a voltage pin. So this sensor is having a 5 pin. So how it works is the output pin, if you can see, the moment you rotate this, okay, and it comes into contact of output A, it will generate a pulse which is a high pulse. Okay, and then after once it comes in contact with output B, it will generate a pulse. Okay, and that would be shown as a green pulse. And then the pulse generated through output A, if you can see in the diagram, it is generated with a blue color pulse, right? So once you move this into a clockwise direction, okay, so what happens when you rotate it into a clockwise direction, a pulse will generate, and then the pulse will get dropped. Okay, and then again it will generate and it will get dropped. Okay, so it just generates a pulse. Okay, and if you can see over here, the when you rotate into a clockwise direction, what happens is when it goes from 1 to 0, okay, the output from the pin B or output B is 1. Okay, but the moment you rotate in a counterclockwise direction, okay, if you see from 1 to 0, okay, it basically jumps from 1 to 0 over here, right? In that case, 1 or 0 to 1, or basically when it is from 0 to 1, it is still a 0, right? Over here, if it from 0 to 1, 1 to 0, it is 1. Okay, and from 1 to 0 over here, it is 0. Okay, so this is how you read this output, and you can read more about this sensor and the pulse generation in the basically, if you wanted to know more about how the pulse are generated and all. Okay, so what we are trying to do over here in the rotary encoder is it is what it is. By rotating, the rotary encoder can be counted in the positive direction and the reverse direction during the rotation of the output pulse frequency. Unlike rotary potential counter, which specify rotation counts are not limited. Okay, with the buttons on the rotary counter can be set to its initial state that starts counting from 0. Okay, so what we are going to do is, okay, I'll show you my small program to go into more of it. So as I mentioned, I have a 3 pins. Okay, so I'm using 6, 7 and 5, and output from this, and then output from this, and then I have a button pin, and I have set a counter which starts from the 0. Okay, and in the code I have defined these two as the input. So basically these are output A and output B, and I have a button pin, okay, which is at the pin number 5. It is basically for resetting it. Okay, the very first step I'm trying to do is I'm trying to read this pin, A pin. Okay, so if you can see in the diagram, right, it will read from the pin number A. Okay, so I'm trying to read that value first. Okay, and once I read that value, okay, I'm trying to again in the loop. Okay, this is my setup. Now in the loop I'm trying to again read it. Okay, and then if I say the value has changed, okay, it is not same as the last value, then it tries to read the pin B. Okay, and then it will again see if the pin B is equal or not. If it is not equal, then it will raise a it will increment the counter. So basically you are rotating into a clockwise direction. Okay, else it will decrement the counter. If the value of output B is equal to output A, okay, or the pin A, then it will assume that it will decrement the counter. Okay, and finally I'm saying, okay, the position and then the count. So basically if I'm rotating in the clockwise, it will rotate that. Okay, and at the last I'm just defining a last state is equal to A state. Okay, so and then again it will go into the loop, right? I hope I already can show you the output. Okay, let me open my serial monitor. So my serial monitor is now open. So what I'm going to do is I have a rotary. Okay, so I'm just trying to rotate now. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is if you can see over here. Okay, so let me just rotate it into a clockwise direction. Okay, so I'm rotating, sorry, in an anti-clockwise direction. Now let me rotate in a clockwise direction. Now if you see this, I'm rotating in a clockwise direction, right? If you can see over here, it is just increasing. Now let me reset it. Okay, let me just, I hope I have resetted it. 1 second. Still not reset. Should, it should reset. Okay, it's not. Okay, so it is not resetted. I have to check exactly why it is not done that. Okay, so anyway, the reset is not the functionality which I wanted to show. I wanted to show you that this is how I'm now decreasing it. Okay, so I'm just moving it. If you can see, I'm trying to move it and then it becomes negative, right? It is just decrementing the counter. Now if I move it into a clockwise direction, it will just start increasing. Okay, so this is a very simple example of the rotary sensor. We will you can, when you are trying to implement a bigger project, you can use the sensor and then control the various lights or the various motor equipments and so on and so. Okay, thanks for joining the session. We'll meet for more of the sensor in the next session. Thank you.